Hey, everybody, Les Odell's here, and I'm backing out.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
Need
You're
it
welcome.
here.
All right, folks, we're back. We want to thank Bill there. He went through his side of the string yard and got us connected. I don't know how that works, but we're connected now. So, all right, let's get this started. I guess you still, Linda, you fall off your pillow there again.
I did. I don't know how long it'll sit this way, but I've got it. Yeah, I
Okay,
shouldn't be such a runt. There we
that's okay.
go.
I'm just teasing you.
All's off. It'll just,
All
it's
right,
okay.
all right,
Okay.
all right, folks. We're back. We're live. Um, we're here with Linda and Chris. Been a long time wanting to talk to you about things that you've gotten going on that you've been telling me about on your property. Uh, and I guess you and Chris both have experienced it.
Yeah.
But before I do that, as usual, I just want to tell everybody, you know, if you want to be a guest on here, if you want to talk to me about something online or on the podcast, hit me up at West Virginia Case 304 at yahoo.com. Send me a message, and it don't matter what it is, Bigfoot, aliens, ghosts, anything strange. If you had something strange happen, you see a UFO, it doesn't matter. We'll talk about it. Or if you had an interesting topic that you want to discuss, I may not know about that at talk, but if you want to come on and talk about it, then come on and talk, and we'll share it. So without that being said, Linda, Chris, welcome. I'm glad you all made it. I think it was more on my end. Like I said, I yesterday our internet went down. Well, not the internet itself. Something's happened with either our modem or router. I guess that's what I'm thinking. We called our provider and they're like, yeah, your internet's running fine. We're like, no, it won't connect to anything. So they're going to send a technician out tomorrow. Tomorrow's the only day they can get one out here. We was hoping to get one today, and I was trying to find an Ethernet cord to see if maybe that would have hooked my computer up, but I had no luck finding one. I went to Walmart, and you have to, I guess, order those online so you would get them into the store. So here, the way I like to start out is, I know most podcasts have you send in the bio and stuff like that, tell you about yourself, and they usually read it. I'd rather the guests tell the listeners who they are, not necessarily what who you are connected to what you've experienced, but just who you are in general. What's your background a little bit and where you've come from and things like that. So whoever wants to go first, go right ahead.
Go ahead.
My name's Linda Sigman. I'm originally from Pomeroy, Ohio, which is about 25 miles north of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which I'm sure you've all heard of. um, I grew up there, and then I got married and moved to Coolville, Ohio, and raised a family. And now I live in Parkersburg, West Virginia, with my adopted son, Chris Parsons. I'm a psychic empath, and it's been a long road for me. Um, I've I've experienced things since the age of 3, and it just escalated from there. But now I live here in Parkersburg with my dog and Chris, and I enjoy going out into the woods just about every day. Chris?
Hey, Les. Good to see you, brother. Grew up in Ironton, Ohio, and when I was 10 years old, I had an encounter where I saw a UFO in the sky, and to say that it changed my life is an understatement. Literally, from that moment on, I've just every single thing that I could have ever done to try and figure out what in the world it was that I saw. And parallel to all of that, I got into cryptids early in my life. I'll never forget that first book that I read as a kid in grade school. It had a picture of Loch Ness on the cover. It was Loch Ness, the Bigfoot, and then UFOs. And I've been addicted. I don't even know if the word addicted really does it justice since that moment. And I've had the pleasure of, going all over the country, meeting hundreds, if not thousands of people, and, you know, Mom and I absolutely adore you and the work that you've done, and the influence that you've had on the Bigfoot community and what you continue to do. And it's an honor to be here to talk to you, not only about our experiences, but to talk about Bigfoot in general and the things that we've learned. And we love to speculate and guess. And it's just fantastic to get together with other like-minded people and try and figure out what in the world is going on in the world, in the forests, in the plains, I mean, all over the world. This phenomena that we call Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yowie, et cetera, as you well know, I mean, it's consumed our lives in a very, very positive way. But the thing that I think that we've enjoyed as much as anything else are the friendships we've made with people like you. And it's one of those things that every single day of our lives, we'll have dinner and we'll sit down and we'll listen to a podcast. We'll watch your show. We just absolutely can't spend enough time doing this. So I want to say thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about it tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to have you guys come on. I think, when was it? The first time we met was at Frogman Festival. Is it correct?
Yeah, I feel like we've known you a lot longer than that, but I believe that the first time we did, and I turn around and I go, "Oh, there's Les Odell."
Yeah,
because you're all over the internet. It was like it's so easy. It's so easy to feel like you know someone when you watch someone, you know, in their interviews and their you know, being on Small Town Monsters. It's like a big extended family, and we're like, hey, there's another family member, friend right over there, Les. But you don't know us, Les, but you're going to. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I can remember that day. I remember I was standing there. I don't remember who I was talking to, but I do remember hearing this. Because Chris, it may not come across on the phone here, but you got a booming voice. You know, it does stand out. And I heard, hey, it's Les Odell, and I'm like, and I heard you yell my name. I turned around and like, who's this fella? Then you come over and grab my hand and shook my hand and stuff, and then we chatted for a while, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And then Linda, it was it last year when you come out with your book?
Yes.
And that's when I learned about your experience, you know, that you had, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And but yeah, if you don't mind, I mean, I know you probably don't want to give all of it, you know, because you definitely want some folks to pick up your book. But let me put an image up here of the book here.
Thank you.
There it is, folks. Beyond the Pale Moonlight, the UFO. What's it? I can't read it. I know what it says, but
the UFO Mothman encounter.
Yeah, UFO Mothman encounters. That's what I'm getting. Linda, I'm starting to get old. I need glasses.
I don't want to hear anything about age.
Well, folks, it's a great book. I picked it up right as it come out. I picked it up and I've read it and I enjoyed it. But I'd like to get into that here in a little bit. But first, let's start with the stuff you've been sending me. You've been sending me structures, footprints in the snow. You've been sending me. Here, let me put this up here. This is strange. An odd print. I believe it's on an old log, correct?
Right there? What is that? What that is, where that's at, is underneath of a structure. So there's a log. Let's see. There we go. There's a log, and on that log it looks like a handprint. And then in a teepee above the log, there's a structure. There's a tree, and then a teepee thing against it, and underneath of it is this log. So, like if you're going to walk through, you're walking through to enter into the rest of the forest and down the path, and it's like it is entrance into something. When I found that, I couldn't believe it, and I looked at it really, really close, and it isn't. It looks like it was burnt into the log, not burned per se, but they squeezed it so hard that it wore the bark off of it. And I swear it's a handprint. And I put my hand down there, and it's gigantic. So I have a path that I made that I go out into the woods. And I have 4 sections that I go to. I call it North Woods, South Woods, East Woods, and West Woods. And at different times of year, there's more activity in the north woods. So I'll go out there in the springtime, and that's where I found a lot of the structures. A lot of that tree that was uprooted and stuck down between two more trees. I just found that about 3 weeks ago. So that was something new. And then when I go into the south woods, that is where I found the very first structure, and it was down along the creek. And I hear sounds out of each direction. It'll start out sometimes that it'll sound like a cow, and it'll moo. Well, I grew up on a farm. I lived on a farm for 50 years, and I know what a cow sounds like. It'll moo, and it's a good moo, but then it changes into a And I think first when I heard it, I thought, is that a bull? But then it was down in my yard. I mean, there's no cows in my yard. I'd go down with a flashlight and look, and I would hear these. We have a veranda on the back of the house here that I sit out. The last couple of nights, not last night because it rained, but 2 nights prior, at 9 o'clock, I was sitting out there with Phoebe and saw an orb. And it went across the road from, I'm trying to get my directions here, from the north woods, and it went across the driveway towards the woods, made a abrupt left, and went about eye level and up into the woods and was gone. And then I heard some kind of growling or barking or something. And then I thought, well, night before last, I was going to go sit out and see if I could see it again. So this time it came from the south woods, and I saw it up in the tree, and I thought, oh, here we go. And then I thought, that's not fireflies. They don't come out until it gets warm. And plus it was bigger. And like I said, I grew up in the country. I know what they look like. Well, I started hearing that mooing and grunting again, and I yelled for Chris. He was in the house in his room, and I went in. I said, it's starting again. So by the time he could get there, it was gone. But I watched that thing. There were 3 of them, and they went from the south woods to the north woods across the back of the house. And she started barking. She heard something. And I thought in my mind, if that's you, can you do something or show me that you're here? And she barked, and it sounded just like her. Woo, 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 woo. It wasn't an echo. It was something mocking her. Then I leaned forward in my chair on the veranda out here in the dark, and I felt a presence. Now I can feel spirits and things when they're around. Now, I felt this thing. I have never been afraid of going in the woods by myself. What I felt wasn't really fear, but it was like it come upon me, and maybe was even close to my face. All that was between me and it was the screen. And this veranda, how high is that out there? 20 feet? 30 feet off the ground. I felt that thing was right on the other side of the screen, and I just was mesmerized. I said out loud, I see you. And it kind of dissipated then. I know this all sounds woo-woo, but from what what has happened to me since I've lived here in 2017, it started out as knocking. The first night I stayed here, there was knocking on the floor. Where the floor where the knocking was is cement. Something underneath the house. Knock, 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 knock. Finally, I got up and I pounded on the side of the house, inside on the bedroom. And it continued. And I rebuked it in the name of Jesus. I said, in the name of Jesus, stop. And it quit. And but I've had rocks thrown at me. I was sitting on the front porch one night, it was raining and I was talking on the phone, and across the road from the front of the house is a bank, and something was up on that bank, and I heard clop. Well, I hung up on the phone and I went and looked. I still have the piece of asphalt. There's no asphalt around here. It's this big, and it was laying in the middle of the road. I watched it fall, and then I took a flashlight and went all around. I couldn't see anything. I've been seeing lights in the South Woods, not every night, but in this one particular area that I go to all the time was nothing but there's hills and then valleys and hills and then valleys. It's down in one of those valleys. It's just a yellow light that's there. And, you know, I've asked everybody, do you have a light out there? Are the kids camping, or is there anything out there? No, no, there's nothing. So 2018, I started really recording everything that I got. The only audio that I have, and I tried to find it last night, of course I waited the last minute, was owls. Mm-hmm. We were surrounded by owls one night. It sounded like 6 or 7 of them, and they were in all different directions. They kept coming closer and closer and closer. I just don't think it was owls. You know, in the fall I hear 1 or 2, but it was warm weather, and you know, they were all like they were surrounded us. And I'll let Chris tell you, if you will, about the night of Under Siege. And this was a year ago this month that this happened. You want to tell them about that?
Yeah, there was a night that I call it the night Under Siege, where there was just so much phenomenal going on. There was knocks on the house. There were all kinds of different things that were bothering, that we were encountering in the house. And Linda had her granddaughter over here, and I remember we were taking Phoebe out to go do her business, and in the side yard, and she her granddaughter came out. She was in her pajamas, and she was barefoot, a lot like Grandma, walking around barefoot everywhere she goes. And she said, "Hey, I'm getting cold. I'm going to go back in." I said, "No problem. I'll be in a second." Phoebe and I were outside, and then I think she was inside the house probably not more than 3 to 5 seconds. I mean, it was almost immediate. And the house, put the house in perspective, we're on a slightly down slope, probably I would say 10 to 15 degrees, and the house goes down, and at the front of the house is the kitchen. And as you go down the hill, the house, of course, you know, is parallel, and the back of the house where the veranda is, that's where the drop-off is. So when you walk into the front of the house, you're literally on the ground, but you take 20, 30 steps further into the house, and because of the downgrade on the slope, if we were to jump off the veranda, it would be like 20 to 30 feet to hit the ground. So the backyard is on that down slope. And so I'm on the side of the house, the left-hand side, where the kitchen is. And obviously, you know, one of the things that any of us that spend any time researching Bigfoot or related phenomena like Bigfoot is the tree knocks. I mean, they're synonymous with Bigfoot. And like Mom has said, she has heard tons of tree knocks out hiking around the house. I mean, there's just so many things that lead us to believe, I believe, very logically, that there may be something there. But what I heard that night, it was metallic in nature. It literally sounded like if someone took some type of a stick or a rod, and it made this amazing loud, I mean, beyond loud clang. I mean, the way I described it was if the Hulk, if he existed, if Hulk or Bigfoot, something incredibly strong picked up something and hit something metallic, and the echo signature, the way that it traveled from the backyard up around the house, there was one hit, and I immediately, and of course, when you're in the middle of anything that happens, you know, I'll never forget, time really slowed down for me. And And I remember having this conversation in my head initially, what in the hell was that? Because it had that distinct metallic echo signature. And I thought, what? And then a beat, and it hit again with as much force. And I'm just kind of like smiling to myself, going, the backyard less is absolutely pitch black. There's nothing back there. All of our neighbors that we live around, they're good people. They're not people to troll us or to scam us or do anything like that. They're not interested. I mean, you don't get that here out in the country. And then a third time, and with that pause, beat, and then a fourth time. And I'm standing there with our dog, and I just really, and that's when I just have to laugh, because one of my favorite things in the world to do throughout my life is I love movies and soundtracks. And if I'm in a movie right now and this is a horror film, I'm thinking to myself, what's the background music right now playing? Is it, I mean, I'm like, this is ludicrous. And all these thoughts are going through my head, like, what in the world could this be? And this is crazy. And then Leslie comes down a fifth time. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I think it might have done it at least one more time. And then silence, utter silence. No one's down there. And I don't want to say that I was afraid to go down, but I wasn't curious enough to say, let's put her in there. I want to walk down there and figure it out. I was, at that point, with everything else that was going on, I was so angry with the potential, and I can't rule it out, that there was someone, that decided to play a joke or a prank on us that night. And so I called the police. I said, hey, I want you to send out a vehicle to run by the property on the chance that there's someone down here, having a really good time, fun time. I don't believe it to be a neighbor, but at least I wanted to rule that out, that it was a human being. But I've heard other people in other shows talk about how wood knots can be metallic in nature, or some other way that maybe a phenomena or Bigfoot is making contact in a way that's not traditional, or whatever else that phenomena was. But it's never happened before, Les, and it's not happened since. But I will never, for the rest of my life, ever forget that. I don't know, I guess it lasted probably around 25, 30 seconds of that sound. And I'll never be convinced that, I don't think, and I'm 99.9% certain, I just have this gut feeling that I don't know what else to say, that it just wasn't made by human hands, whatever we heard that night. It was just weird, beyond measure.
No, he came in the house and I was running the sweeper, so I didn't hear it. And Meredith was with me sitting on the love seat. And he said, you should have heard what I heard. And he told me, and he wasn't in the house very long. And we started hearing banging on each side of the house. First, we'd hear it on the back and then the front and each side. And when we heard it behind the house back here, where it's like 30 feet up, it just sounded like somebody taking their fist and going boom, boom. And Meredith, she was crying. Chris went in his room and got his samurai sword. And he sat on this couch with his sword. Meredith got on my lap, and she said, are you afraid? And I said, no, I've heard it all. I'm not. And I said, we're in the house and we're safe and nothing's going to happen. Well, how long did that last? A couple hours of just continual banging, bang, trying to get our attention. So I said, I'm going to bed. So my bedroom's downstairs, and Meredith, well, she was 12, 13, 12, I guess. And she said, I want to sleep with you. And I said, okay, just come down there and we'll lock my door and we'll be safe. So it kind of calmed down then. And she and I went downstairs, and Chris went in his room, gone on his computer or something, I don't know. And we weren't down there very long, and it started banging on my bedroom window down below it. Boom, boom, on the side of the house. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. And she said, she calls me Gigi. And she said, oh, Gigi, I'm scared. And I said, don't play into it. Go to sleep. And the next thing I know, it sounded like somebody had a handful of rocks or sand or something and threw it and hit the inside of my bedroom door. Now, there was just she and I down there. And she was laying here up against me, I had my arm around her, and something threw that handful. Oh, shoot. Are you there? Something threw that handful of rocks and hit the inside of the bedroom door. So I said, I've had enough. So I came upstairs and I told Chris, I said, it started again and they're banging on the outside of my bedroom. Honestly, I think I know this might sound foolish or odd, but I honestly think it might have been young ones because Meredith's a cute little thing. And being the age that she was, and she was outside with Chris, and she came in the house, and right after she came in, then it started banging on the house. So I said, can you come down and listen? So he came down, and nothing else happened. And he crawled on one side of the bed. We put her in the middle, and I got on the other. And they both went to sleep. So I came upstairs, and it was about 6 a.m. And then he came up. He said he had woke up and thought maybe they got me. I said,
where is she?
They throw me back. So that's about the most interactive or tendency towards trying to get our attention that we've had. Now, I saw one once. I was walking Phoebe at night. It's about 10 o'clock at night. I took her up the road to go to the bathroom. I always take her for a little walk. And it was dark. But you know how you can look through trees, and if there isn't any leaves on the trees, but there's backlight. Up at the top of the hill is where we have a place where they collect our garbage and stuff once a week. And garbage, there's a big garbage can thing for them to pick it up. I heard something. She started barking, and I walked up a little further. I suppose maybe I was 30 yards from it. And I saw it on the other side of that garbage heap, walk from left to right. I saw the conical head, the big, and it walked. And I just stood and watched it. And I picked her up and went back to the house. That morning, I called the neighbors and I said, were any of you guys out around your trash cans last night? They're like, no. I said, do you mind if I come up there? And she said, I don't care. So I went up and looked around. And on the other side of that trash can is a hillside that slopes down. There was a path that came up that way, and there was grass all mashed down, like something been standing there, you know, maybe going through the trash or something. But that's the first time I've seen him. Now, I was out in the creek one night. It was one evening. It wasn't dark yet. I was just walking through the creek. And I heard somebody pitching a tent. Bang, 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 bang. And I'm like, who's back in here pitching a tent? Because it wasn't deer season. I stay out of the woods at deer season. But it sounded that metal, the metallic sound, you know. So the creek it's like a snake. And you go around one corner and then you can't see till you get around the other corner. And so I said, who's over there? And I could hear that. It sounded like it was maybe, I don't know, 30 or 40 feet from me, maybe. And I said, is somebody back there? Because I was by myself. And I honestly thought when I walked around there, I'd see somebody pitching a tent. There was nothing. There was nothing. And then I looked down, and on a rock where I like to go out there and sit along the side was this very unusual, it's like a type of a mushroom that looks like a star.
Mm.
And it was placed there like it was, it was out of place. And I thought, well, they put that there. Now they have left me things. This, do you want me to continue? I mean, I'm full of it. I've got all kind of stories.
I'm gonna put
Do you have any questions?
I'm gonna put you said they've sent you things. Some of those are the triangle stones that you've been finding. Is that some of that?
I find those, yes.
Okay,
Now,
I'm gonna put those up here.
okay.
Maybe let me try to do that.
Now the biggest one there, my daughter found, but I've got another one just like it, and I asked someone that knows a little bit about artifacts. I've got a giant collection of Adena artifacts and arrowheads and things and rocks. That's part of what I like to do. Yeah. Now I have another one like this big one on the left. They told me that the Sasquatch people were here prior to the building of the pyramids. Now this is just hearsay. This is what I was told that might be. And they said if that rock has a certain look to it or has those certain markings on it, could I send them a picture? So I did, and they said that signified the three triangle things, signified the three pyramids. I found another one like that. I was walking in the Southwoods by myself, and it just stuck out like a sore thumb. There it lay. Great big triangle rock, sandstone. I had a friend come to stay one night, and we walked out to the woods, and it was in the morning. We walked out into the woods, and there's a path that I usually take out through there if I don't go down the creek. And there was a tree that was about 15 feet tall. It wasn't very big around, probably, just a small tree. Mm-hmm. Up in the very top of that tree was a deer skull. Just a deer skull. And, I'd been about 6.5 feet up, 7 feet up in that tree was this deer skull. And it looked like it had just been hung there. It was just like it was the tree itself wasn't really what you call a sapling, but it was just maybe like a redbud tree or a dogwood tree, one of those types that don't get very big. And up in the top of that tree was that deer skull, just like, don't go any further than this. So I went home, and they went home, and then they called me up about 3 p.m. They said, why don't you go out there and get that skull? I said, okay. So, out I went, and I thought, how am I going to get that thing down? Well, I took a great big stick and stuck it up in the neck part of the skull and carefully pulled it down. It's like an 8-point buck? I mean, it has the antlers. So I had a Walmart bag. So I stuck it down in that bag, and I thought, man, this is pretty cool. I turned and took 2 steps to my left, and over on my right was, what multiflora rose looks like when it's in honeysuckle. It can get 5-6 feet tall if it's all in a great big bunch. That was there, which was blocking my view of what was there. I thought, well, instead of going back the path the way I came in, I'm going to go over and go down the creek and come home that way. I took 2 steps to go, and I heard, I thought, what in the world? And I knew about the samurai chatter. I knew about, what that sounded like, but I thought, oh, it can't be that. That's wild hogs, and I'm going to get eaten. And the only tree here for me to climb is that one, and I don't think it'll hold me. And it was just like I was froze. I couldn't go anywhere. I was just amazed. I thought, what am I going to do? Those hogs are going to eat me. And it was like two of them going at it. And that's two of those things fighting. They're mad. One of them's mad because I have that skull.
Right.
And all I could think of was Old Yeller, and the wild hogs are going to get me. I couldn't move. I just stood there. I thought, well, what am I going to do? And I kind of thought, well, you can have it back. I don't need this. I really don't. And at that minute, I heard one of them let out a god-awful scream. And like it turned and walked and screamed all the way 100 yards. It was still screaming. And I was just like, well, I said some choice words. And I thought, what am I going to do? And I just stood there, and I didn't hear anything else. So I went over to the creek. And like I said, there's a rock there that I like to sit down on. And I sat down on that rock. And I just started chanting. And I was like, and I thought maybe they'll leave me alone if they think that, I'm not going to do any harm. I dropped the skull in the sack in the water, and I almost left it there. And I thought, you know what? I'm taking it home. And I got up and I thought, well, I got two choices. I can run or I can walk, and either way, I'm dead if they want me. I was terrified, but yet I was amazed.
Yeah.
I never heard anything like that before. So I got back to the house, and I laid it out on a little table out on the veranda so they could see it if they came up to the house. So I started doing a little bit of research on that what do they call it? Samurai chatter? What do they call that?
Yeah. Some of it, yes. Some of the samurai chatter. Some people just call some of it just gibberish and stuff like that. But yeah,
that's what it was.
Because samurai chatter comes from
it was 10 feet away from me. I mean, it was that close on the other side, but I didn't see him. I didn't see a thing. And I didn't hear anything except the voices. And when that thing screamed, I felt that all the way through me. And I went back to the house, and I just sat down and just sat there and thought, if they wanted me, they could have had me. Well, this past spring, I continued to go into the woods. I had a little bit of depression and I was going through some things, and the woods was my safe place. And I would go out there and cry, and I'd find peace. It was like they knew me, and they knew I wasn't going to harm them, and they didn't want to harm me. So this past spring, I went back out, and I went back to that tree, and down, not too far, was a deer skull. I've lost you. Are you there? Yeah. There was another deer skull, and I have it. I just picked it up and brought it home. Nothing. You don't just go out and find deer skulls in the woods. I have been going to the woods since I was 5 years old. When I was little, when I lived in Pomeroy, we ran the hills. We'd go to my grandma's, and the first thing we'd do, we'd go up on those hills, and we'd run, and we'd play in the woods. Never find deer skulls. I'd find a few bones here and there, but to find like a 8-point buck with its horns that was bleached out. Now, I have found, along the road, you'd see a dead deer, but they don't last too long. Coyotes and things out here. We continue to hear the grunts and the growls and the hoots and the howls. And is there anything else that you can think of?
Well, the thing, I don't know how much time we've got left, but the thing that I was hoping to talk to you about, Les, that just fascinates me, you know, you've got,
we're good.
I'm sorry?
I think he's right.
Can you hear me, bud?
We're good. We're good.
Okay. Well, what I was hoping to talk to you about tonight was, you know, just the phenomenon of Bigfoot. And, you know, we go back to the Patterson-Gimlin film, and you think about in the last 50 years, there's so much. That's the best film we've got thus far, proving the existence of Bigfoot. And you and I haven't had the conversation yet, but for me and all the analysis that's been done with the stabilization of the film, I remember seeing one night where Meldrum and there was a gentleman from MIT where they really slowed down the film, and they had all the different layers of the film that they stacked on top of each other, and you got to see the detail of this creature walking. And I think they said they were talking at one point where you could literally see the feet flex as Patty is stepping, and that there's a very good chance she has a hernia, I believe, in the back of her leg. I mean, just all this amazing detail from that film back there. And we look at all of the different, you know, so-called videos going forward. That person that every time I see you, I'm like, who's the guy in West Virginia? Billy Humphrey. You know, when he was able to take his squatchy photo, I believe when his wife and him were up in the deer blind. And Paul Freeman. I mean, there's just so many different times that Bigfoot has been on captured on film. And of course, you know, the running joke is it's always grainy, it's always very out of focus, and it's just one of those things that I love to hear other people talk about. To think that in the last 50 plus years, the best so-called visual evidence we have is from the Patterson-Gimlin film, along with a few others. And there's no doubt, I think, in my mind, Les, that the physical reality of this creature, from at least my perspective, has been met. There's no doubt that people have seen these amazingly tall creatures, call them whatever you want, apes. I like Jeff Meldrum's and others' belief that it's a relic hominid. I personally think that makes the most sense to me. And your investigations, the people, the hundreds, if not thousands of people and stories that you've heard, and you've talked to people, and we've done the same. It's just, I try to say to myself, and I ask this question all the time, Les. I mean, we're definitely dealing with a flesh and blood creature. I don't believe there's any doubt of that. But, you know, Mom used the terminology woohoo. And I just wonder, and I've never really heard you say it, and I was wondering if you could speak to this. Is there a spiritual or some type of beyond the physical powers that maybe Bigfoot might have, that your research has led you to believe that it's based in spirituality, dimensional creature? I mean, exactly, we know, and I really do believe this. I personally believe that Bigfoot is a master of their domain, so to speak, the woods. It has the ability to be, you know, to stay out of focus. It doesn't have to be seen if it doesn't want to be seen. And I'm wondering, over the course of your investigation, if that's something that you would care to talk to us about and tell the audience what you think that Bigfoot just might be beyond a flesh and blood creature. If there's anything more to it that you would be willing to talk about or speculate on.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah. Don't know if you heard any of that. Yes.
Yeah.
Did you hear my long-winded question back to you, Les?
Yeah, some of it. I don't know what happened. I just lost everything.
I'll rephrase it real quick. Yeah, I can summarize it a little bit better. I believe that you and I are in the belief, and so many others, that there is no doubt that Bigfoot is a flesh and blood creature. But given the fact that it's been so difficult to capture that phenomena of Bigfoot Sasquatch on film, that I start to, there's plenty of anecdotal evidence out there with the mind speak, and they have the ability to go through portals, to literally start to walk off and they vanish. And I want to always be very. Yeah, he's gone again. There you go. Yeah, if you let go,
I'm back. I don't know what happened. I keep getting.
It looks like you're back.
Disconnected. I don't know what's going on.
That's okay. I'm just.
I'm back. Yeah.
I'll try and again get to my point real quick. Is that I think we all know that Bigfoot. There's no doubt people are seeing a physical creature out there, a physical phenomena.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about, based on the research you've done, the cases you've seen over podcasts, over your own vast physical interviews you have with other people. Are you to the point in your investigation in your career of doing this where you want to maybe make the leap that Bigfoot might be something more than a physical creature, that there's abilities or properties to the creature that sounds, again, woo-hoo, or sounds fantastical in nature, but might go a long way in explaining just how elusive this creature has been over the course of a human lifetime, from the Gimlin-Patterson film and before and after, that it has abilities that may be inconvenient to what we want to call reality, but nonetheless exist, that allows them to be masters of nature beyond just being adept at woodcraft, at being very quiet, at being able to live in harmony out in the woods in a way that goes beyond just physical, that goes beyond physical abilities.
To me, the easiest answer to this thing is it is a flesh and blood animal. It's a creature. It's been here for a while. That's the easiest answer for me when talking to many people. However, I'm open to hear the stories or the encounters where there's strange things going on. Whether that's all of them are Bigfoot related, I'm not sure, or whether it's something else. Then you have the question is, I think it's Wes Germer says it quite a bit. How come we've never caught up with this thing? Why haven't we caught up with it? Why haven't we caught one? Which there are stories out there that tell you that people claim they've shot one, they've been captured, and this and that. But in my opinion, because of the evidence, whether this thing does go from here to there and do whatever, it's a physical being of some sort. It has a mass to it. It leaves evidence. Now, also, does that mean that everything that people are experiencing is the same thing? I really don't know. I think a lot of the counters I take or have taken leads to like an undiscovered primate or a relic hominid, maybe, because I've had both that seem like this thing looks like an ape, and I have others where the thing looks like more human-like. But also I've taken reports where they've done strange things, things, whether it's like shape shifting or things like that. Is that the same thing? That's my question. Are these two things, or whatever this physical thing, this being over here is, and the things that some people experience are they the same? I don't know. I think in my opinion, you should take all that and look at it one way or another and decide eventually. But what I think sometimes that people are experiencing and claiming Bigfoot is because, how do I want to put this? That's what's in the forefront right now, and it has been for years. And and maybe that's what their frame of reference is. It's Bigfoot, because they hear this and they see this on TV and they hear it on radio, or they hear, pop culture is becoming big. It's starting to becoming. Bigfoot's ingrained in pop culture anymore. So, is what certain things people are experiencing. Is it Bigfoot? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Like, maybe that's just the only thing they can relate it to. And then again, how come, you hear Native Americans, it goes back and forth. That's where I have a hard time with some of it. Native Americans have talked about these things doing supernatural things, I guess you say, for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And then you're talking, and then I talk to you. Yeah. Like Linda talks about, some of the stuff Linda's talking about falls in the poltergeist activity. And you hear about poltergeist activity in many cases in relation to Bigfoot activity. So is Bigfoot, does it have some kind of spiritual thing where it can do certain things? Are they able to, like you're talking about rocks being thrown inside your door, inside your bedroom?
It just sounds crazy, doesn't it? I mean, what kind of, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to say another way of summarizing it, Les, and I agree with you 1,000% in everything you're saying. If it were just a physical phenomenon that people are describing, that's pretty cut and dry. It's like going out. I mean, what year was it? It was 1923 that we actually saw for the first time. They found the mountain gorillas, and I just wonder, it's like, is there going to be one day where somebody turns around, they go out of their house, and there's a family sitting in the back of their yard, and they just happen to wave at them and get them on film, like all of a sudden they're just discovered. But there's so many other components to this that you're talking with Native Americans and other type of, it sounds like there's some type of a spiritual or some other type of connection that they're capable of. And it does, for me, at least two things. And I think you were alluding to that. It makes the study of this whole phenomena so much more complicated than it would have been. But if you want to keep an open mind about this, you have to say to yourself, and I think you're excellent at this, is I don't have the right, just because it may be inconvenient to my belief system, to discount it. It's like, I think that's what I heard you say, and I love you saying that, is that if you really want to research this and have any type of credibility at all, you have to be open and want to listen to all the various stories come in here. And you said it just a moment ago, not everybody's experience is the same. It varies greatly from region to culture to time period to places all over the world. And I think it's safe to say that it could very well be that within what we would like to call the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot family, whatever that genome is, that there's could very well be this variability in who and what they are. I saw on Facebook one time, somebody had done a really cool artistic rendition of, like, what does a Yeti look like? And it has very specific characteristics versus a Yowie versus the Canadian Bigfoot, and then the Ohio Grassman, or the swamp Bigfoot. I mean, depending on where you are, there's this. It appears to be just like in UFOs. I mean, there's not one size fits all for UFOs. People have seen cylindrical UFOs. They've seen the triangles. They've seen the saucers on top of each other. I mean, the style and variation is almost infinite, and that's the thing that I can alternately say drives me nuts in terms of trying to figure out who and what they are, and the fact that they don't fit into this convenient little hole that we can say definitely a flesh and blood creature like a bear, a deer, a gorilla, whatever, that there may be other phenomena attached to it. And of course, I think that's where a lot of people just, when you try to talk to people about the subject, it can be so difficult because there's all this other phenomena, Les, that's part of the baggage of Bigfoot that's inconvenient. But if you really want to be fair, you have to pay attention to it. You just can't discount it because I might not like it. I might not like hearing that there's this spiritual or supernatural context to the phenomena. But I have to be open to the fact that, my personal experience and biases in my life have nothing to do with what is reality necessarily. And that everything that's coming in through the filter of my mind's eye, if I really want to be credible and if I really want to be objective about it, I have to entertain those experiences. And that's the part now where, like I said, it used to bother me. And now I'm to the point where it's just fascinating. And the more I talk to people like yourself and others who I find so amazingly credible and with their time and their effort and their ability to do the research and try to fit it all together, again, what are we trying to do? We're constantly trying to bridge the gap between what we've heard, what we've seen, what we know, and maybe what's possible, and try and suss that out to the point where eventually, maybe one of these days, and I think the end game, Les, and tell me if you agree with this, I think the end game is being able to have incontrovertible proof that Bigfoot is a physical creature that exists out in the wild, and we've proven it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And then where do we go from there?
Amen. I heard something the other day, and it said, you've got to get Bigfoot, not have Bigfoot on the brain. Have to have an objective view. When I started walking in the woods, I wasn't looking for Bigfoot. I started saving all the different things that I, got and that I found, that I saw. I started documenting. I still have to remain a little bit skeptical.
You have to
if you're gonna do a good job, and I hope one day to be able to physically see one close up. And I think the only way that I'm going to be able to do that is to go out by myself without any kind of phone or any way of taking pictures. You just have to get Bigfoot off your brain. You just have to go out there with an open mind and a good heart. And I don't think you can have fear either, because I think that's one way that people don't get to see them. I think that they have, just like other animals, people give off a scent when they're afraid, and they can tell that. But if you go out and you do your thing, sit down and look at the rocks and look at the wild flowers and commune with nature, and maybe even talk to them, you're going to find out. But the most important thing is, people say, oh, well, everything you see, Linda's not a Bigfoot. Well, yeah, I know that. I don't, I just can't Bigfoot on the brain. And I've seen enough stuff in my lifetime to know, not to be a fantasy. I know what I have come upon as a reality. It's a different type of reality than I'm used to, but it's still fascinating.
Real quick, Les, let me ask you this question, and I'd love to hear your response because of the research you've done and the hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of your life, along with so many other people like us that are absolutely obsessed with the subject matter. What, if anything, do you think that we could be doing differently than we might be doing now, beyond just having the open mind, always following up on sightings, always following up on all of the data that comes in and the various ways that it comes in? Can you think of anything now that you might be doing differently, or that you're looking at that might shine the light on ultimately revealing the phenomena of Bigfoot to the world, to the point where, it furthers the investigation of the phenomena. Are you doing anything differently, or what would you recommend, or what are you seeing other people doing that you may respect and like, and looking at this maybe from a fresh perspective beyond all the traditional ways that we have studied the phenomena for the last 50, 60 years?
Is he frozen?
It looks like it. He's just.
Oh, poor Les.
It's a good picture of him.
Yeah, it is.
He's lost weight too. He looks amazing. I meant to tell him that. He's inspired me.
I think the best thing to do works for you.
You're freezing up.
He's talking. We just can't hear him. Damn it! I really wanted to hear
I know.
really wanted to hear his answer.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're answering, but I can't hear you.
Like just continue to do what you guys do. Right? I mean, whatever works for you, do that. Don't be afraid to step outside the box if you're looking into something different, or look at something different sometimes in a different views perspective, and document it like you've been doing. Always document. Eventually you'll find enough data. You'll get enough data to where a pattern comes along that maybe you'll figure out what's going on in your area. Your area might be different, and then again it might be the same as somebody else's, and then you can compare notes there. I don't know what else to say. Just document everything that goes on. That's what I tell a lot of people. Even when I've done paranormal stuff, the first thing I tell them is document every case or every incident. When, where, and how it happened. And set a file. And if when I talk to people, if it seems like it's a physical animal, I have files for that. If there's strange aspects to the stories, I have files for that. And believe it or not, some of those stories that are strange, I've started to hear from other places. Not just here in West Virginia. I'll hear them on podcasts, or I'll read reports that these things are happening to other people. For instance, what the thing that the phenomenon that's being called the Glimmer Man, which is like these things supposedly, I guess, cloaking, if you would say, and they look like the people describe it as the predator walking through the woods or through the trees. Is that Bigfoot, Sasquatch? I don't know yet. I haven't I don't have enough information to actually say yeah. And I've never heard one person say that they've seen one of these things actually do that. They've always seen this entity, or whatever you want to say, or whatever you want to call it, after the fact that it's been cloaked or whatever, So yeah, just document, for everybody out there, just get as much information you can. Look into historical records, look into historical sightings, see if there are some out there that fit today's description of a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot. Some of them don't. Some of them are just typically what they were. They were just wild people that went off the rails and lived in the woods, and they're gone. They just went nuts, basically. But there are stories and accounts throughout hundreds of years that talk about these creatures having the strange heads, like you hear today, the conical heads. So it's all just basically breaks down to information. Save the information, get as much information as you can from as many places as you can, and basically put together your own theory and just work with that. And don't be afraid to share that theory and your ideas.
I gave up long ago worrying about people thinking I was nuts. I know what I see. I know what I hear. I just sometimes don't know what it is. And that even drives me further to look for it, see what it is.
Some of the stuff that is right in line with Sasquatch activity. And then, like I said, some tell me about fits that paranormal side where people call poltergeist activity. You're not the only person that's ever experienced Bigfoot activity that has experienced the so-called paranormal or the poltergeist activity, the banging on the walls, the voices being heard through walls or out from inside. Like you just said, you heard knocking under a concrete floor. How
I did.
How's that possible?
It's not possible, is it? I heard it.
Yeah, it doesn't possible. But what the thing is, we need to try to find: are you experiencing two different phenomena, or are you experiencing where connection?
Welcome to my life.
If it's one, yeah. Where's that connection? What connects the two? That the things you're having, the experiences you're having in your house, and the stuff you're finding in the woods. And folks, let me put out here. Let me put a couple pictures up if it'll work. She's finding prints. Here's a print she found. Here's another. Here are the typical structures you hear people.
That thing is,
and again, that print. Could you tell me just on that, just real quick, how big was that? How, like, lengthwise and size? Was it fairly big?
10 inches long. The fingers were probably, the fingers were probably 6 or 7 inches long.
It's a Bigfoot handprint. That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. And then it goes down further on the log to a part where it looks like it grabbed a hold of it and just squeezed, and then laid it down. That log wasn't there. It built this structure where it's a triangle. There's a tree, and then they put another one at a triangular like that, and then they put that log across the bottom of it, and on that log on the bottom is that print. I know. I don't know.
I think one of the things, Les, that I loved in your response there was, it's, and I think a thing can be alternately, there's duality in so much of life, obviously, but within the subject and the study of Bigfoot, I think you hit the nail on the head that we need to do everything we're still doing. We want to be as skeptical as we can always. I never want to jump to conclusions about anything. I have no problem, when I do my UFO talks and presentations, I'm constantly saying I'll speculate all day long. I love to speculate, but I don't ever want to say, and I can't say honestly that I know what a so-called alien's motivation is. I have no idea. I've never met one. But like you say, when you look at the phenomena, when you look at the cases of people coming forward, talking about their experiences and what they've seen and how close they've gotten, as you and I both know, and so many people who love to study the phenomena of Bigfoot, there are people who see him or her far away. And then you have the other encounters like Mother and others where they're so close they can tell you what they smell like, what they sound like.
I've smelled it.
Their eyes, the color of their eyes. I mean, the reports and the stories are so variable that you've got this amazing grouping of stories that is a flesh and blood only creature that you encounter all the way up to and including maybe other phenomena, whether it's spiritual or supernatural. And like I alluded to earlier, it's both infuriating and fascinating at the same time that whoever and whatever they are, it's not something we can very conveniently put in a box and say, here are the boundaries, we're going to draw the lines, and everything goes in there. There's nothing on the outside. It's not true at all. It's like you've said very, very eloquently, I believe, that you have to be open to all of these stories and the possibility that we're just now starting to hit everything that they could be, they might be, and they will be, and that they are. You know, I'm trying to think of the quote where it says, whatever reality or the truth is, I have no, I'm always constantly trying to figure that out, but I don't own it. I don't own the truth. I'm constantly seeking it. And it's just so, and that's the thing I love to hear is, one of our favorite things. I want to hear people's stories. What was your encounter? Where were you? Who, what, where, when, and why? Any great story. I was here at this time in my life, and this year, in this camp, we were hunting, we were whatever, and this is what I experienced. And the fact that we now have hundreds, if not thousands, of individual encounters like this, Les, to go back and to study is amazing. I love it. But I think about all those additional thousands upon thousands of encounters, that go on that we never hear about. In other words, just like UFOs, for every person that'll step forward that will share their experience, how many others, Les, are in the background just waiting to be heard, but because of fear of ridicule and other well justified hindrances to telling the story, we never hear them.
I get called names, space cadet.
Yeah.
Dummy.
And again,
crazy.
I think we're all to the point. I think I'll speak for all of us. I couldn't give a damn what someone wants to call me. I don't care. I'm not deterred in my fascination to try and figure out that the world is a little bit deeper, a little bit more weird than we ever thought it could be, and that the things that we take for granted of what is reality is so much more than what we encounter on a daily basis.
Isn't that how people that make wonderful discoveries, they're not afraid to step out. They're not afraid to worry about what somebody thinks. They just want to know, and they want to know the truth. And they got to have fun doing it. You have to take it seriously, but you have to also have fun doing it so that you don't become complacent. And
right.
People that know me know that I'm an honest person, and I just want people to know that these creatures are out there. There's something out there. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I know what I've seen. I know what I've heard. I know they've brought me things. They brought me a great big piece of moss. The king's crown moss, beautiful green. It was a big chunk. And I went out one morning, opened up the door, and there it laid right on the doorstep. And, I had been saying, I'd like to meet you. I'd like to know that you're out there and there's something real. Another thing that happened to me last April, I walked the dog out, and it was dark this time too, right off of the porch. There's a big pine tree, and she went around the side of the tree, but she didn't go all the way around. And right on behind that pine tree, something went whoop. It was late at night. Whoop! It couldn't have said it any clearer. So I thought, well, whoop! And then I heard it run. It turned and it ran into the woods. So I've heard whoops. I've heard growls. I've been growled at twice. But I still go. I go into the deep woods where I know nobody has been. I take my clippers and cut back the weeds and go back to where no one has been. And I find areas where, maybe a hunter has been there, but why would they build structures? Why would they pull a tree up by the roots and stuff it down in between two other trees? Why would they do that? I don't know. It's fascinating.
And what I just want to say something to Chris here, what he said, and this for you as well, Linda. Talk about people calling you names and calling you crazy. In my opinion, like I said, in my opinion, I can't say, I hate to say, the easiest answer for me, I'll listen to everything. The easiest answer for me to describe what is going on with a lot of stuff I find and talk to, I only say this because it's the easiest answer. It's the easiest way to explain what's going on, is it's a creature. It's an animal. But there's so much strange stuff along this phenomenon, in certain certain instances. I mean, it's just weird. But you're talking about people strange and nuts and this and that, and just remember this: there's been people called strange out there and nuts, and people are like, people that the Wright brothers, they said we're going to fly. They were called nuts, but they stuck with it. And where are we at now? We're flying. Yeah. Benjamin Franklin, they're nuts. They're what's electric? Yeah.
Yeah.
We have. So don't ever let that discourage you with what you do. If you
what
you like you said, document everything.
I've got
one day.
I gotta
one day
document it. Putting it in there.
One day the stuff you're documenting and stuff and what other people are documenting that are like you may be the ones that are in the forefront to explain what's going on. It may be something different. It may be putting a connection that these things are together, the two things together. Or like I said, what you're experiencing and what other people are experiencing just may be something different. And you're going to have that information because there are a lot of people out there who are too afraid.
I know, and I don't want them to be. They don't need to be. They don't need to be. Fear can do a lot of things to people. It can hold people back in a lot of ways. But, like I said, don't have Bigfoot on the brain when you go out there and look. Just be willing to go out there with a good heart and an open mind and do your thing and enjoy nature and see what it has to offer.
Les, the one question I've been dying to ask you, and one of the things that we loved, and I want to say it out loud again, is we had the pleasure of seeing you again I think it was July in Parkersburg. You were at the Emerson Avenue Library, and you gave an amazing presentation, and it was standing room only. It was kind of sweaty down there, and it wasn't ideal, but you were fantastic. You had your book on sale. You were wonderful, and I wanted to buy your hat for $50. I remember teasing you about that. But the one thing do what, buddy?
I said you didn't have to buy it. I'd give it to you.
Oh, that's another reason why we love you so much, because I could see you doing that. That's fantastic. But I don't want to kind of put you on the spot, but I was just wondering if you don't want to share it, I totally understand. I mean, obviously you've been doing this for a long time, and I don't want to sound glib when I say this, but I want to say I can't thank you enough for being someone who is so passionate about this subject, who's brought so much credibility to it and so much curiosity and love. And you're in a unique position, Les, to having, and I don't even know if you've kept count at this point in your life, of all the hundreds, probably maybe even up to this point, thousands of people that you personally touched in terms of listening to their story and their encounters.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm not sure that I've ever heard you say this on your podcast, but I was just wondering if you would share with us, if you can, if you'd like to, what you might consider to be, and I'm.
Hello. He might be able to hear you.
Yeah.
I think that Sasquatch doesn't want us to finish this.
We'll see. I can get to the point real quick when he comes back. Are you back?
Yeah, Chris.
Okay.
I'm telling you what. I think you have the MIB looking at you, and every time you start to talk, they just kick me off here.
Well, the real quick point I wanted to make, Les, is you've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people over the years, and for whatever reason, whatever criteria that you might want to consider, and it's 100% you, would you be able or willing right now maybe to tell us, without betraying any confidence or anything like that? I would never ask you to do that. What would be like one of your favorite, best stories that resonated with you for whatever reason about an encounter a person had either here in West Virginia or period, of all the great conferences you've been to, is there any one story or encounter that sticks out to you that made an impact on the way that you look at the phenomena, or that you enjoyed so much because of the veracity or the credibility of the person or the quality of the encounter?
See, you bring that up, he leaves.
Yeah.
Shame on you, Chris.
How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing great. I jumped in because he keeps popping out. Here he comes back. I don't know which one to remove.
There he is.
There he goes.
I guess what he was saying was, what's your favorite encounter?
Right. I have a couple. I have one. There's a couple that involves basically being a flesh and blood thing, and then there's one for sure that I always talk about. That is, I guess when you say on the woo side, the wild side, and that is the one in Fayette County, West Virginia. Well, actually, I can say two of them in Fayette County, West Virginia, but this is the woo side one. A delivery driver. He worked for a dairy, I guess. I don't know if he worked for a dairy or just drove the truck that delivered milk to and from this dairy. And he was coming down the road, leaving the dairy, and he noticed this thing walk out into the middle of the road. And he starts to slow down. It comes to a stop. This thing, and that's when he notices it looks like what he described as a large gorilla ape-looking thing standing in the middle of the road. And he's fascinated, and he doesn't realize it at first, but his brake his foot has started to come off the brake a little bit, and he started to drift forward. And as he starts to drift forward, he's within 50 yards or so, 75 yards, something like that from this creature. And it has already turned and looked at him, and seems to walk toward the truck a little bit. And as it starts to walk to the truck, he thought at first it was going to go on all fours. He said that's the way it looked like to him to go down, but that's not what happened. This thing transformed from this ape creature to what he described as a large buck deer. Big animal,
really?
Big
Really?
And
I run into all kinds of deer out there. Oh no!
And he says it turned to, well, it would have been his right, off to the passenger side of the truck. It turned to the right and ran down into the woods and was gone. He was adamant that what he saw at first was a large, hairy ape creature. The other one which was another, I guess, like I said, the strange woo, whatever you want to call it. I hate saying woo sometimes because it does seem derogatory. The guy was driving, and believe it or not, there's another account in one of John Keel's books, I think it is, or one of his writings somewhere that describes this exact same thing. This creature was in a residential area, the guy was in a residential area, and he would come down the street. There was a street light. His car quit. The street light goes off. He feels a humming, and hears and feels this humming is what he describes as a vibration or hum. This creature walks up out of this yard into the road, walks across the road, starts down the other side, and doesn't disappear into the woods. It just disappears completely, just vanishes. Yeah. But he describes it as a large, hairy, bipedal animal. Those are the two really, to me, that stuck with me when it comes to the strange and odd type thing. Right. One of the most memorable ones that sticks to me about it being a flesh and blood animal was the one I took, and I talk about it quite a bit, of the gentleman back in the 70s, just come home from Vietnam, was watching his nieces and nephews, just short version of it. The water went out, the water well quit working, or the water pump. The water pump was in the basement part of this little offshoot of the house. He told his nephew to go look at to see why the power quit or why the pump quit. And his nephew's like, I don't want to go. And the guy's like, I'll stand here at the back door. I'll watch you. Everything will be fine. And as his nephew starts to go down the stairs, turns to go down the stairs into the cellar, this arm about 6 or so feet off the ground, covered in red hair, 3 to 4 inches long with the forearm, and a big hand comes around the corner of the house, and was going to grab his nephew by the head. And he screams, and that's when his nephew notices it and then rolls on the ground and takes off running. The guy made sure that his nephew was back in the house, was safe or whatever. And it's in the book I wrote, but I didn't put this part in mainly because of the book. But he grabbed a shotgun that was nearby in one of the rooms, and he ran out the door, ran to the other corner of the house where but on the other side there was a field and like, I don't know, 50, 75 yards away. I forget what he told me, but there was a hay field. Then it went into the woods, but he didn't see anything. He didn't see the animal. It was long gone. In any direction you looked, it was not there. It was long gone. So he never did see it again. And I asked him, did he, at the time know what Sasquatch was? He said he had no idea. But he later seen films and stuff as he got older, and he said that's the only thing I can is equated to was one of these creatures. That's one that stuck with me for years. Sadly the gentleman's gone now. He passed away, but I was able to keep, in my heart, I was able to keep that story, and it's been one of my favorites.
Well, it's certainly both of them.
Another one is, what is it?
I was just going to say those are fantastic stories, especially the first one, Les, where the driver actually saw a transformation from Bigfoot into, did I hear you right, say a big buck?
Yeah, buck deer.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
You never look at
I love it. I think you were going to tell us another one.
I think he's crazy.
Bill, you look so mean. Why are you looking so mean, Bill?
I'm just listening.
Wake up, Bill.
I'm just listening. I jumped in case you go.
We love it when Les goes into storytelling mode.
Yeah, I love Les and his stories. Believe me.
Well, I don't know. Did you hear all three of them or just the one?
We heard. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I like the one where it's a transformation into a deer.
All right. First off, I want to know what that transformation story was. The guy Native American?
No. I mean, he never said he was, and I mean, this is bad to say, but he didn't seem to look like a Native American would.
All right.
But no, he just seemed
he wasn't smoking any peyote.
No.
No. I had to say that because I've heard that so many times. Oh, they were smoking peyote. That's why they said that. Oh, get out of there.
But that's what the skeptics do, Bill.
Yes, I know.
Anyone who just has a distaste for the subject matter, they're constantly, that's the first thing they want to do is when they're vetting you and your story is they want to make it drugs, alcohol, mental illness, all these various things. And I'm not saying that none of that shouldn't be vetted and shouldn't be, shall we say, admitted to, but so many of these people that come forward are not alcoholics, are not drug addicts, in the case of like Billy Humphrey and others. And the story I love with Billy Humphrey, and correct me if I'm wrong, Les, Billy Humphrey is a lifelong hunter who vehemently did not believe in the existence of Bigfoot. And his wife had her encounter, I believe, when she was hanging clothes, and she knew that he hated the subject of Bigfoot so much, she didn't even share the story to him until after he and her had their encounter on their property.
Yes.
Well, she didn't even share it with him. She shared it with me, and reluctantly he was nearby after she shared it with me.
Is that how it went?
If I'm not mistaken, and I'm hearing it, I want to make sure that when I retell this story, Les, that I'm getting it accurate. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't Billy the one that was saying, the thing that shook me to the foundation of my being, this, what do we want to call it? And I'm trying to think of the psychological term where your whole existence is called into question was.
Crazy.
Well, it's that there's a better word for it. I'll probably think of it in a second. But if I'm not mistaken, I think what Billy was saying was almost every single day since that encounter, it has affected him so much that his grasp of what is real has been called into question, where I think he even said at one point in your interview with him, where does that mean that fairies are real? Does that mean that
Maybe.
what else on the table that I thought was crap is now, so it has really affected him in a way. And I'm sure there are some people out there who said, if I'm such a stringent non-believer and I saw what I saw, my entire reality has been, thrown upside down. I'm like losing my mind here a little bit. I can't grasp what we're dealing with, because this is stuff of legend and folklore and the stuff you see in the movies. And if this is true, then my God, then what else might be possible?
Chris, Billy
Right.
is not the only one that went through this. Believe me, I have
I
taken
believe that. Yes.
so many reports that these people still have a hard time believing they saw a Bigfoot. A very religious young man saw a dog man near where I live.
Mhm.
And he says it had to be some kind of demonic thing. I says, no, it's a cryptid thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and he still has a hard time with it.
I believe it.
Mhm.
I had a hard time believing what I saw at 15 feet away from me.
Yeah.
What did you
I
know?
still say that again, Linda.
What did you see?
Bigfoot.
Yeah. And it was
15
15 feet.
15 feet away from me. So yeah, and I still have a hard time now and then think, did I really see this?
Well, I know.
Bill, how long ago was that, sir?
That'll be 3 years this August.
And I apologize. Where do you live?
Sharon, PA.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's some of the most beautiful country in the world right there. And you were 15 feet
no,
away?
Indiana County, PA is better.
I love Pennsylvania. I love
no,
PA.
But my sighting was at Salt Fork, believe it or not, Chris.
It was where?
Salt Fork State Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask both of you, because we love to see Les in person. We're just wondering what some of the conferences you guys are going to be at upcoming this year. I would imagine Salt Fork for sure. Les, are you going to be at Salt Fork this year?
No.
No.
Yes.
Bill's going to be there.
I will. Les won't.
What was your commitment that weekend, Les? Was it personal, or you're doing something else?
Honestly, I don't remember. I don't remember for sure.
Okay.
What weekend is it again?
May 4th.
May 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay. Well, what is your next engagement? We want to say hi and buy you dinner at the next time we see you.
I'll be in Pennsylvania for Daniel Benoit's thing on the 25th of May, I think. I think it's when it is, 25th. Then the Bigfoot Festival, be at the Grafton Monster Festival. Oh, I got a couple here and there. I don't remember all of them right here. I got my
I can't remember
somewhere,
if you've got this up and you've got it online, your commitments or where you want to go. I can't remember. I want to look for that if it's there.
No, I don't think so. I'm going to put them. I did one here a while back. I was supposed to go to the Hocking Hills Bigfoot Festival. I was asked to do it last year, but I didn't get the date. And then Gwen Parcell asked me to do her event, and it ended up being when I was asked to given the date for the Hocking Hills Bigfoot Festival. It was the same weekend, so I told Gwen, I'm coming, and I'm a man of my word, and I told her I was coming. I wasn't going to back out of it, even though they say Bigfoot Festival is big and big. Well, I'm still a man of my word. I'm going to stick with my original commitment. So,
Les, I'm going to say Gwen's is a big festival too. Not as big as Hocking Hill, but it is big. And that's where you and me will be speaking together. Right there. Yeah.
Where is that one? When's? Where is it? When's?
Where's that, Linda?
Where is Gwen's
Gwen?
festival?
Central PA Bigfoot and Cryptid Fest in Leesburg. It's actually 4.5 hours from me in Sharon, east.
Okay.
Are
It's
It
we
about
probably
speaking
about the
anywhere
same.
else together, Les?
Huh?
Are we speaking together anywhere else?
Are you a Daniels?
No.
No.
I wasn't sure
You
what
went the
was all transpiring at that point.
there's the other one in Central PA over. You're a Marine, yeah. How you say it?
Marionville, Forest
Marionville.
County.
Yeah. And then I'm at another one in Pennsylvania. I'm bad with names, guys, and I don't have my little calendar here.
Oh,
I'll be
I was just hoping, Les, for you to somehow, if you don't mind, either personally share that with us or share it with your audience where you're going to be, because, you know, we want to support you and Bill. We want to, obviously, we always want to see you in person. You're just amazing. And we want to shake your hand and give you a big hug and have that great photo op. But we'd like to break bread with you too and just continue the friendship that you've so graciously given us.
Well, I told Linda last time we talked that I wanted to come out and hang it to check out the area or check out her
You
property, and yeah, it's. I
Bring
mean,
the red truck, right?
Linda,
You still got your red truck?
oh yeah,
be careful when you go out hiking with them.
You should talk to dog man or the dog
I
woman.
ended up in the hospital the next night.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
I'm falling down these hills out here.
Uh,
My daughter
oh.
says, Mom, you're going to get eaten. I was like, well, last time we went out, I slid down the hill on my butt. I keep going. Gotta keep going.
oh yeah. Parkersburg's too far from me. Hey, since you're over that way, have you ever heard of the Martown Banshee?
We live real close to Martown. And
We're 3 miles away from Martown Road, Les.
yeah,
Have
I've
you ever
heard
heard
of it. Uh-huh.
Have you ever heard the Banshee story?
I don't, no, I don't think I did. Some has to do with somebody dying, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a pretty famous story for out in that area. Look it up. I don't tell it off, but look up Martown Banshee, and you should be able to.
We turn off for 50 onto Martown. That's how you can come to where we live.
I go Martown Road every day.
It's 2 miles.
It's literally 3 miles. I think
3
it's 3 miles.
Mhm.
We live 2 miles off of DuPont Road, and it's another probably half a mile to Martown. I use it all the time. But I'm going to look that up. I'm surprised that we haven't heard of it.
I've heard of it, but I didn't. And I think I probably heard the story. But
Yeah.
it was probably just me out there screaming.
Well, I want to tell everybody on here, like, I'm sorry I didn't respond to some of the messages and stuff because I don't know if it's on my phone. I'm not able to type anything. So, yeah, thank you all for coming and watching. Thank you all for
We had a blast.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
We love you to death, Les, and I really, Bill, it's a pleasure to meet you, and we want to continue to support you and the cause in every way possible. And
You guys are always welcome.
we love what you do, and I want to say that we had the chance last year to finally go to Sutton. We met Laurel in her shop, and what you've donated up there is just incredible. And we can't thank you enough as people who love the phenomena, what you stand for and what you've done. My hat's off to you, brother. I just can't thank you both enough for everything that you brought to the table, that you've enriched our research, and you're enriching our lives just personally, having another friend out there that is just amazing. And I don't want to undercut it. I want to say how much I appreciate both of you, and we're looking forward to seeing you personally, hopefully very soon.
May 4th.
I appreciate it. And I can't wait to see you guys. Like I said, I want to come out that way. Oh, and Belinda, yeah, message me. I want to know more about your experiences you've been having or you had when you were having them. I'm sorry.
I've been reading them in the chat, and I sat quietly in the background before I came back online when he started popping in and out. And I've been reading a lot of the stuff in the chat. And a couple times I typed on the computer here and it come up West Virginia. I went, oops, go back to my phone. But Linda and Chris, you guys did a great show with Les. I want to thank you for doing.
We appreciate the opportunity.
Sorry, we had so much trouble with the phone and getting connected. Maybe next time.
No.
Yeah.
And then I can tell my Mothman encounter.
But
I want. Hey, Bill. I mean, you ought to get Linda on letter and have her talk about her encounter when she was younger with Mothman. She's a witness, original witness that's come forward recently about her encounter with Mothman in 1960, 66 or 67, Linda?
April of 67. 57
Okay.
years. We're almost at the anniversary.
I was just a baby.
what are you doing on next Wednesday, Linda? 7
Talking
p.m.
to you.
Probably taking you.
Okay, Linda, you're written in.
Okie doke.
Daggone it.
We got to get our laptop fixed first. We keep collapsing.
Hey, we can still go this way. I don't care.
My hand keeps falling asleep.
Thank you, Les. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank
And
you,
You guys
Chris.
are the best. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And
And everybody that's listening.
we had a blast. We really
It was fun.
enjoyed it. And again, thank you for everything that you do. We owe you a debt of gratitude that can never be repaid. It's just, this is such a huge
I will
part.
just buy you dinner.
It's just for us and so many other people. I'm sure your listeners, I'm speaking for them as well. You know, so many of us are seeking answers. We want the truth, or at least I think we want the truth. But, you know, this is just something that's important to us. And I think I can speak for Mother saying that it is absolutely worth every nickel and dime I've ever spent. It's worth all the time I've ever spent. But what really makes it amazing is the relationships that we've made in the community. And you guys, Les, you're the best. And I can't say it enough. I'm so proud of how you represent the state. And I'm also want to say that I
just want your hat.
I want to congratulate you on you're becoming very healthy, and it's something that I need to do too. I need to become the guy that I've been most of my life, and I want to congratulate you on your on your progress, and want to say thank you for inspiring me to get off my butt and do something about it as well. And I wish you the best.
Thank you. You guys are great. You guys are great. I've
Have
had a good
great
time.
evening. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
All righty. Yeah, you all got my number, or yeah, I'll send you my number, guys. I forgot. We just been going
I
back
got your number, buddy. Hey, but Les, I'm going to say this now. You are the inspiration to a lot of researchers and a lot of people out there. And that's why we all love you so much. You're a great inspiration. So Chris wasn't just
Chris,
blowing smoke up your rear.
Well, if you guys keep talking like that, Chris ain't going to have enough head to fill my hat.
He's gonna get something to eat. Okay, guys. Y'all have a good evening.
Hey, you all have a great evening.
All right.
Les, you want me to do your outro for you?
Yeah, let's get out of here.
Okay, here we go. Let me find it. Where all those pictures come from? Oh, okay, here we go.